Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. Yay, are you guys ready to make some bread today? Simple, super simple. My grandmother used to make this all the time and it made her kitchen smell so amazing. So I'm excited for this. You need salt, sugar, my sugar's in here, flour, vegetable oil, canola oil, whatever oil. Well, not car oil. You need a package of yeast. These are like, I don't know, 60 cents or something at the store. And a measuring cup, measuring spoons, and water. That's it. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do, we gotta get this yeast alive, okay? So yeast feeds off of sugar. So let's add our yeast. Just getting all that yeast down to the bottom of the packet. Tani is so weak that I can't even open this packet, so I'm just gonna cut it open. There's my yeast. Easy enough. There it is. Kind of a brownish color. We need to feed it some sugar. So I got my sugar. I'm gonna give it about half a teaspoon, I think. Well, find my half a teaspoon. So on these little teaspoons, you probably can't even see this, but it'll show you exactly how much it is. So we're gonna use the half a teaspoon. Take our sugar, sprinkle it on the yeast. Feeding our yeast. Now, this is a tricky part. Whenever you're trying to make yeast grow, you need warm water. Not hot, not cold, but warm. If you get it too hot, it'll kill the yeast, and then your bread will not rise. Because the yeast is what makes the bread rise, so you don't have flat, kind of hard bread at the end of this. Excuse me, 1 second. My son was talking to me. Okay, so if the water is too cold, then the yeast won't grow either. It is so specific. It wants perfect warm weather. You should definitely not live in Wisconsin because our weather fluctuates. Like yeast, if it was a person, would probably live in California where the temperature is like 70 to 76 range sort of thing. So I'm gonna get my water going. Sorry, I'll be back here. And a little trick that I learned is the truest test of heat is right here on your wrist. This is the most sensitive part. So a lot of times, like in pastry class, if they're testing chocolate, they either put the chocolate right here or they put it right here, because that'll tell you if it's really hot or if it's the perfect temperature. So I use my wrist to test. Sorry, my son is here with our kitty cat. Dane, would you like to come over here and say hi? Come here. This is my sweet little boy. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, now let's go back. Okay, see you later, boo. All right, so check it out. Sorry, you probably hear the water running. I'm testing it right here on my wrist. I want it just kind of a perfect warm. Don't want it to burn me. Okay, so once I have that, it should almost feel like nothing. When you put it on that part of your wrist, it should almost just feel like there's a different feeling on your wrist, like water's just coming down it, but it shouldn't really burn you. If it's burning you, it's definitely too hot and it'll kill the yeast. All right, that feels just about perfect. Set you back here. And we need 2 1/4 cups. Is that about right? Oh, I got a little bit further to go. And the really cool thing about yeast, you'll know when it's ready, is it will start to bubble up just kind of on its own. Okay, so does that look like about 2 1/4 cup? You see the 2? I think I'm actually a little high. All right. Pour that in here. Don't kill my yeast. All right. Now we'll just grab a fork. Simple fork will do. Stir up that yeast a little bit. you could smell this, it's starting to already smell like bread. This is really where the substance of the bread will come from. It'll raise it, it'll get that smell. You could research and try to find out other things that are made from yeast. Look it up on your computer, other items that are made from yeast. You might be surprised. All right, while that feeds itself, basically, we're gonna move on to the next step, which is basically mixing our dry ingredients together. So, with our dry ingredients, we want a little bit more sugar. We actually want 3 tablespoons of sugar on this. So, the tablespoon is my bigger, probably the biggest one you have. So here's my sugar. We want it level. We don't want it a heaping spoonful. We just want it level. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. We also want a little bit of salt. You don't really need too much salt. I do about 1/2 teaspoon. So again, that's what we used, I think, on the sugar. Again, you don't want it heaping. You just want it right to the top. Okay. And we want our flour. Now with our flour, we're gonna start with 3 cups. 3 cups of our flour. So, again, we don't want that heaping because that's not a true representation of how much flour we have. So I skim that off here, shake it a little bit. Okay, that is my 1 cup. So there's 1. There's 2.
And here's our kitty cat.
Oh, well, let's not put the kitty cat by the food.
No, I'm just showing them.
Oh, okay. That's very nice. Okay, and 3. That completes. Perfect. I'm gonna add that into my old school blender here. If you don't have a blender, it's not a big deal. You can just mix this by hand. Just, again, remember that flour has gluten in it. So the more that you mix it, the tougher those strands of gluten are gonna get. They're gonna go like our muscles. But the problem with gluten being really, really tight is that's gonna make really chewy, tough bread. So we wanna work the gluten a little bit, but we don't want it to get too strong. We just want it to be kind of strong, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm just gonna... Done. Sweet. Now, set that aside.
I just like your video, Mom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to actually add some oil. So this is our oil. I'm just going to use a simple vegetable oil. If what you have around the house is canola oil or olive oil, feel free to use that. It'll change the texture just slightly, but it shouldn't really overdo it at all. The one thing that we do want to wait for, though, is we want to make sure that our yeast has bubbles on top. That is showing that it is eating. Now, I don't know if you can see my yeast, but I'm going to show it to you real fast. There's not really bubbles on top. They're starting to form. You see a few of them, but they're not all there. So we're going to give this just a couple of minutes, and then I will be back, okay?